Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Grand. Glad you could join me tonight. As you can see, the building is, well, beautiful as ever. It's all it's missing is a bunch of people. So I'm glad you could join me online. Today is at the Grand at home. We're going to play a little bit of question and answer with you. I have a handful of questions that have been submitted to me ahead of time. And you also should feel free to post. I'll be following the feed on both Facebook and YouTube. So I'll follow you that way. And I'll answer anything I can. And I'm happy to do it. I'm glad you could join us. And let's see if we can go right from the top. Here is, this one sure makes a lot of sense. When is the Grand opening again for shows? Well, isn't that the $1 million question? I can tell you what's scheduled. I can tell you what the plan is, but I have to tell you, and there's not going to be no surprise. The plans change constantly. The ground is moving underneath us all the time. And we'll have to pay attention to what's going on with the rules that are set down for assembly from the state, from nationally, and the city, and good old common sense. We'll have our own rules as well. That said, I can tell you that the building is not going to open for events before July 15th. We are just, I just want to make sure that we've made all of the proper considerations need to be made before we open again for assembly. And at this moment, we're scheduled, the first couple of shows are scheduled for the last few weeks of July. They are shows being put out by renters. I can also tell you that as far as the Grand Presenter shows are concerned, I don't have any plans to book or to reschedule a show before Labor Day. So all of that said, it depends on what you read. Some people are saying we're ready to reopen and in June. Some are saying it's July. Some are saying it's August. Some are saying September, and some are saying it might be longer. We're just going to keep our eyes on what's going on. And you got to remember that we're going to, we're talking about putting, in a successful show, we've got 500 people sitting in proximity to each other. We've got actors who are and performers who are traveling in from other areas of the country. And there's a lot of considerations to be made to do it. And I can tell you the answer to the question is we've got things scheduled in late July, and we will reopen as soon as I can safely feel that we can do it in the interest of everyone's health. So thanks for that question. That said, we do have plans to announce and to schedule things going into next season. We're not going to be, we will be proactive in being ready to open just as soon as we can be. That leads to the next submitted question. When will the Student Discovery Series be announced? And for those of you who don't know, the Student Discovery Series, the AMCOR Student Discovery Series, is a series of about 10 student matinees that happen in the course of the year. They're usually literature or science-based, and students are bussed in from schools in 15 counties and beyond. 40 school districts become involved in busing students to see shows at the Grand. 10,000 of those students in any given year. Now, with all of that said, we have plans to announce and schedule, but heck, we don't even know what's going to happen with schools yet in the fall. So until, but we are working with our artist friends, and we will announce a Student Discovery Series, an AMCOR series, probably online on May 1st. And the reason is that we want teachers to have enough time to prepare. And we, at the same time, we have to, everything we do right now, it comes with a disclaimer, right? It's, we will schedule, we will work on things, and we hope that we'll be looking forward to doing some stuff. there's not a question here, but my gosh, I do want to share some things that people are saying, especially when they say nice things. Thanks, Ballets with a Twist, a great company out of New York City, and who have played here with Cocktail Hour, the show, and someday we'll be back with Cocktail Hour Part 2. After all, we know that you're going to put together the old-fashioned cocktail just for us. And the beer dance number as well. All you folks there, our friends from Ballets with a Twist, I do hope you're all safe and sound and taking it easy to protect yourselves out there and out east in New York City. I probably should have opened with that wish for all of you. Obviously, we're playing with the safer at home rules right now. I hope that this finds all of you in good health and with your families in good health as well. We want to make sure that that we've sent our best wishes out to there as well. We are safer at home. I'm here only because of a wellness check. When it's over, I'm settling in home as well. Here's a good comment. Boy, I'll tell you what, when you make sure you have lots of wine in the house, we'll need it. We'll have the Grand Lounge ready to go. I see that we have staff answering as we go along here, and we will be ready to go as well. So, this is certainly, this is an interesting, I want to share this because, gosh, I agree with you. We desperately want to be ready to go, and at the same time, we'll see what happens. But by all means, look for those announcements. Steam with Michael Bailey and Steve March-Torme is scheduled for July. Gaelic Storms rescheduled performance is scheduled for late July, and if it comes to pass that we aren't ready as a community to assemble again, then we'll just have to wait and see and move on from there. Best thing you could do is to stay involved with us through the Grand at Home online by continually checking the Facebook site and the website because we'll keep you posted just as much as we can going along the way. Speaking of which, here comes another submitted request question from the day. When will the new season be announced? And this is a developing the program right now because the season obviously is being scheduled. Our staff and I are hard at work. I'm talking with agents and acts, just as I normally would in the spring, talking with sponsors about sponsoring shows because certainly we want to be ready when the community is ready. And with that in mind, I thought I would take a special day on the Grand's calendar and repurpose it. May the 8th was scheduled to be the Grand Night fundraiser. That's just a few weeks away. The Grand Night fundraiser was the major fundraiser for us for the spring, and we were bringing in a great group born in Brazil and escaping the slums of Brazil to come to America, now based in the Midwest. The B Twins were going to be our featured act for that night. We had a big party planned, and what we'll do is we'll make a big event anyway. The B Twins have agreed to join us via the web, via the internet. We'll have a short performance to introduce you to them, and then that evening on the 8th, via this Facebook Live, I will announce the new season, and we'll talk about how you can plan for things. Currently, the plans are for the B Twins to be the opening act in the new season in September after Labor Day, and all things going well, that's something we're going to look forward to sending your way as well. Oh, this is a great question. Sons of the Pioneers. I wish that I could get my hands on the Sons of the Pioneers. It's interesting because this brings me here's another great comment on shows. Hire more musical acts. There are a lot of awesome acts out there. I assume when it says here Gregory Allen, we're talking about Gregory Allen Isakoff, who played here some time ago. Gregory was a fabulous show. You got to remember too, though, and as we're planning, here's how this is all going to work. And you should be scared to crawl inside of my head right now because it is a frightening place as I try to figure these things out. there's math involved, right? If we bring in a group, let's use Gregory Allen Isakoff as an example. My gosh, that was a fabulous show that only a couple hundred people turned out to see. The whys, you could go on forever, right? Is it marketing? Is it the day of the week? Is it competition? What might it be? But the bottom line is only a couple hundred people showed up. And we have to do better in terms of a crowd in order to be able to pay and successfully do those artists and make those things happen. And the bigger the artist, obviously the moving factor in that is ticket prices. So whether it's the Sons of the Pioneers or whether it's more acts like Gregory Allen Isakoff, I'm always on the lookout. If someone is traveling and can make us a deal where we can share the risk a little bit and share the reward when it happens, that's always kind of a big thing that's important. Another thing, though, that to come into consideration, and if you haven't heard this yet, you're going to hear it more and more as time goes on. You've heard me say it a couple times already, is what's it going to be like when we reopen? What are we going to sell half the house so that people can socially distance themselves? Are we going to wait until all of those concerns are gone, or at least reasonably gone, before we do that, so that if you're sitting next to someone in the show, that that you've got that there's a comfort act there? And as I start talking to artists right now, there's a lot of what if in contracts, because let's face it, there's probably a finite amount of time that we can go without performances, without your ticket sales and your beverage sales, and there's a finite amount of time that artists can go on without gigs, without opportunities to go to do that. And so we're going to have to keep our eyes open. We're going to have to work with people on this. We're going to have to work with artists on it. We're going to have contingency plans. And in the meantime, we're going to need your patience, and we're going to need you to stay in touch with us, because as things fly along the way, it will happen. I do encourage, Stephen and Cindy both recommended artists to me, and you should do that freely. Gregory Allen Isakoff, when he came here the first time, was an artist that was recommended to me by a friend in the community. And boy, it was a great recommendation. I wish that it was a financial success as well. We caught Gregory probably at the beginning of a great career. And were I to bring him back now, would be probably certainly a more expensive show than it was then. So all in all, I just want to assure you that, when you make these recommendations, when you suggest things, obviously, I can't automatically say, sure, we're going to do that. We're going to make it work. Thanks for the suggestion. It's going to happen. But it is important. I shop in certain aisles. And frankly, who knows what's going to happen? The conferences where I shop in the fall may or may not happen. Those are great big gatherings and trade shows. And with travel involved and people coming in from all different hotspots throughout the country. So just like everything else we're doing, my contacts with agents and friends are happening online. They're happening via the Zoom or similar things that are going on. And so suggestions are always welcome. And patience is certainly going to be appreciated. Cindy asks this question, and of course, this is a really important thing. Our donations appreciated. Not only are they appreciated, Cindy, they're absolutely essential right now. When we lost, if you think of the Grand as a four-legged stool, right? One with four-legged funding stool. There are, there's the leg of ticket sales. There's the leg of rentals of the theater. There's the leg of donations, and there's the leg of income support from the city, who owns the building and gives us an allowance to run it on their behalf. Well, the idea of four legs is that, if one of those legs is gone, the stool can still stand. So where we stand right now is the city support is still there. The donation support is still there, but the ticket sales are gone. at least in the short term. The rentals are gone. And with those things out of the picture for the foreseeable short-term future, we are dependent entirely on the support of the city, which is great, but level, and the support of the community and our friends in terms of donations to make things happen. So you're going to hear a lot about the two-part donations process that's going on for us right now. The United We Grand campaign, which is going on right now, which is the thing that we're hoping will keep us open and keep us ready to go. But then come the fall, we need to be ready with shows. And that's where the annual fund drive, the spring campaign, comes into play. And that's going to happen just as it does. So the answer, the question is, is it important to donate to United We Grand? Is it important to donate to the spring campaign? Well, the answer is yes. Both of those things are important. They're both going to do different things. I saw a question earlier about that. So I was going to put it up on the, here it is. So again, United We Grand is going on right now, and you can find information at the Grand at Home. You can find information on the website. You can find information in Facebook posts and things like that. That is a special fundraising campaign that we put on that runs right now while we are closed, while we're coming up with these alternative ways to be in front of you, because our staff is still working hard. They're behind the scenes more so than ever right now. And they're working really hard on all of the things that have to happen with rescheduling and being ready to open when the time comes. I want to keep those people working, and the United We Grand is a big part of what's going to make that happen. So with all of that in mind, that's essential. But in the next, month, your mailboxes are gonna be full with our spring campaign brochure, and that's is something we do every year. And and the money raised from that is directly responsible for the success or failure of what we try to put on the stage. Ticket sales don't pay the bills all in their own. It's ticket sales and donations and sponsorships of shows, and all of that is incredibly important. So my request to you is that you make yourself, if you are able, it's so hard. So staff knows this because I've been writing, my typical, letter that goes out for this and letter that goes out for that. And I've had writer's block for this campaign. Of course, asking for support and support of the Grand, and so that we can do all the great things we do. That part's easy, but doing it in the context of what's going on right now is difficult. When the Grand was closed at last in 2009, 2010, we've been through this before. We were closed for 18 months, and the staff and I were charged with being out there in front of the community and asking for support and going on from there. And the community rose up, as they always do. You always do it for the cause, and you kept us going. And when September 2010 came, Jeff Daniels came to town. We reopened, and life went on. But then we were the only thing closed. So it was pretty easy for me to say, stand with the Grand. Let's support us. Here's why we need your support, and we can go on from there. Now we're all at home, and we've got restaurants, and we've got small businesses, and we've got places, that need our support. We've got the warriors in the medical and the municipal communities who are helping us right now, need our support, asking them for, it's awkward. I guess what it is awkward to ask for support for the arts. But when it's all over, it's the arts that heal. It's the arts that celebrate. It's the arts that bring us back out into the community. And when that happens, we need to be ready right now and to make that happen. So I have no choice. It's my mission. It's my passion. It's my job to be out asking as well, that as you take care of yourselves and as you take care of what's important in your lives, that if you can find a way to support the Grand through United We Grand or the spring campaign or both, I ask that you do. Of course, it's appreciated and it's needed. Here's a great question that's asked a couple of times. Can the Grand use volunteer labor? Oh, yes. Oh, yes, we can. The Grand has probably 100 volunteers on its roster. Probably 60 or 70 of them are active throughout the year at any given time. They take audiences to their seats, and they do some other projects for us. Obviously, they've been gone for a month now, and I kind of miss them. And when the time comes, we'll have to bring them back out into the community. And of course, at that point, there's always an opening for more folks to volunteer. It's a great way to see the show is to usher and show people to their seats. But at the current, sitting here today, I would say no. The volunteer help is not something we need today, but it's something we need to be thinking about today, because as we get into the fall or in the summer and the day this building opens, it's going to need an army of ushers to find their way. So I would encourage you to find your way to the website where you can find information in an application. You can do that at any time, and we certainly are looking forward to making those opportunities happen for volunteers as well. It's a big part of what we have that has to happen. Frankie's got a great question, and it's is regular mass disinfecting a new item in your planning? And the truth is, obviously, cleaning the building well has always been a part of our planning. Our custodial staff does a nice job, but the answer obviously is, yeah, the rules are changing now. What are we going to do? Are we going to, as COVID began, we were still doing shows. There was a period of about 10 days when we were prepping to close and waiting for the order and monitoring the situation. And during that time, we started to add some things. We started to put hand sanitizer out where people could find it. We started to put wipes out in case people wanted to wipe down the arms of their seats. We started to clean things in between shows rather than in a way that you wouldn't normally do. You wouldn't wipe down the arms of the seats, in between. But hey, Bill, and even as we came in today, before I came on the air, I went and washed my hands, like you do, like you're supposed to. And as I'm in the restroom, I'm looking up, and there's the sign over the sink that says, "Hey, here's the songs you can sing while you're washing your hands that have 20-second choruses." So whether it's with that whimsical look and that practical look, the answer is, of course, when we open this building up, it's going to be a thing. And as you can see behind me, the building is clean right now. But it's Bill, by the way, had one of the last shows, and we had the things up, and Bill was he sang all three, and I'm sorry I wasn't here to hear it, because Bill Blagg's singing may show why he's a terrific illusionist. For his career choice, but it's important. It's so important. We're going to try to do it. The Grand is always, we've tried to keep a sense of humor going and about things at a very dark and scary time, and we're going to continue to do that. And at the same time, we know what our responsibilities are before we put people in this building. Cindy, your question of who, we do have a cleaning staff. They haven't been in a little bit because we haven't had anything to clean since we closed our doors, a month ago. But as we move on and get ready going into the year, we're going to bring them back on, and some of our other staff have been busy doing some straightening, doing some things along the way to try to make that happen. it's not something, you can't just let the building sit. There is work to be done, even though we have we have no one in the building during the times. We're actually only checking on the building every couple of days to make sure that things are going well. All right, it's been 25 minutes onto this, and no one has asked. And so I see there's some questions about the building that are here that I want to work with. Here's a great one that was submitted earlier today. Why do theater people say break a leg instead of saying the thing I won't say? And that's a great question. And again, and so many of the theaters are not only magical places and haunted places, but they're also very superstitious places. And actors and performers of all kinds are among the most superstitious people. And one of the things is not saying, when you want to wish someone good fortune on stage, you say break a leg. Where does it come from? There are usually 3 or 4 different explanations. So what I'll do is for this, and there's another question coming up in a little bit here. I'll tell you the one that I like best, the story I think that is best, and it goes back to the days of vaudeville. There was often a time when you never knew there would be many acts hired for a vaudeville show, and not always would they find their way on stage in any given show. Well, break a leg has to do with finding your way on stage. The tall curtains on the left and right sides of the stage, the tall black curtains, are called legs, and across the top they're called borders, and the sides are called legs. So for a performer to break a leg, they would walk past the leg and onto the stage and be making their appearance on stage. So wishing a performer to break a leg is wishing them luck, in the sense of, we hope you find your way onto the stage. So there's that. And Cindy, I'm not quite sure that I haven't had anything happen behind me yet, but I'll tell you what, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to walk away for 10 seconds, because I promised people we'd give this a shot. You'll have to see if anything appears behind me. But if it's going to happen, it's going to happen in the dark, right? So I've got some light on stage. We've taken the lights down, and we'll see what happens. So that said, here's one of the questions. Every time I do a tour, particularly if I do a tour with kids, I can answer the history questions. The Grand was built in 1883, and it's older than any other theater in the state. The first renovations to the Grand were electricity and water, because we had neither. The great first renovation was bathrooms, because and I can go through all of that. I can talk about who played on our stage: Mark Twain, John Philip Sousa, the Marx Brothers. All of the great Sarah Bernhardt and Enrico Caruso. And I can talk about all of those things, and inevitably someone says, is it really haunted? Because the Grand, in many publications, has been called the most haunted theater in Wisconsin, and one of the most haunted buildings in Wisconsin. So, of course, what I get asked all the time is, have you ever seen a ghost in the Grand? Here's what I'm going to tell you. I haven't. And I'm kind of annoyed, because I've been here for 16 years. 16 years. And I've been, here I am in the building. I walked in, the building was dark. I walked through the dark to turn on the lights. I've spent a half hour of prep here, and all of the time with you here. And there've been no orbs or mists or anything that I've seen. Of course, my back's to most of the theater. But I can tell you this: I have staff members who have stories that they tell about experiences that they had. I've had people I respect who have told me stories about things that have happened to them. And so I think the answer is, when they say, are there ghosts in the Grand? I say, if you believe in ghosts, then certainly there are ghosts in the Grand. If you don't believe in ghosts, then, well, obviously there aren't, and all those noises and those crazy things that happen are just going to remain unexplained. But over the years, we've had people who experience this kind of thing mention, tell me about things that have happened to them or with them. My favorite story, as it applies to me, although I didn't see anything, has to do with our Spirits of the Grand tours, which happen in October, and we celebrate the ghostly history of the Grand by doing tours. And we'll take the tours through the basement and through the areas that aren't normally publicly accessible, through the areas where we've been told things have happened. And as we do, we have characters, 6, 8 of them, actors, local, wonderful, talented people who are interactive tour guides. And some of them are playing characters out of the Grand's past. Some of them are ghost hunters who guide the audience through. And it's a fun little tour that goes on for 3 or 4 days in October with a haunted happy hour in the Grand Lounge. And it's great fun. The first year that we did it, I started the Spirits of the Grand tours in 2010, and that was, we had been closed, and we were reopening, and I needed as much content and as much reason to come to the Grand as possible, and I had shied away from the ghost stories as a commercial entity. I didn't want to trade on it. Well, when you've been closed for 18 months, the rules change. But what I wanted was an experience that told ghost stories, but also told the history of the Grand. So we wrote some stuff that was done especially for that. Put together a little troupe of people, and off we went. The last day of that first year, I wasn't on duty. I was, but I got a heads up from someone, and I don't remember if it was a house manager or an usher or someone. It said there was an unusual character in the tour, and that I might want to keep an eye on. So I didn't, obviously, whether the gentleman had bought a ticket and he wanted to be uncomfortable. So I went up and I introduced myself just like anybody else would, and he asked me if the tour would be going to the coal bin. And I had to stop and think about it because obviously we don't have a coal bin anymore. And I recalled where the coal bin was, and it's a dressing room and a utility room now in the basement. And the tour wasn't going there. And I said, "Yeah, I'm sorry. We're going to go down to the dressing room area, but we aren't going to that corner of the dressing room, so we won't be going there." And he said, "Oh, it's a shame because." And then he explained, he told me he was a Native American medicine man. And those are his words. He said he wanted to use words that, he wanted to use a description that he thought I would understand. And he had heard about the Spirits of the Grand. And so he wanted to take a tour, and he was hoping to encounter some activity. And he asked me, he said he showed me his pouch on his belt, which had tobacco, sacred, blessed tobacco. And he explained to me that in his culture, that if he would come upon a spirit or an area that felt active to him, he'd want to leave a little bit of this tobacco, just like a pinch on site, to let the spirits know that he was not there to evict them, that he was there in support of them. So I thought, well, it's a little tobacco, that's not going to hurt anything, so of course that'd be fine. And then he wanted to go down to this area afterwards. And I said, well, look, I've got actors here, and it's the dressing rooms, and they'll be changing after the show. So I need to go down and see if they're comfortable with that, So I went down and I gathered the group, 6 or 7 of them. And I explained, I said, first of all, there's this guy, he looks weird, he acts weird, and he's going to be on the tour. I'm going to follow him the whole way. So don't be concerned about that. But also he explained to me what he wanted to see and why. And would it be all right with you guys if, after you've changed out of your costumes or before you change out of your costumes, I bring him down to show him, what was the coal room. And without exception, the answer was sure, but we want to know if he finds anything. So we want to talk to him when we do that. So we did the tour. And if you've been on the Spirits of the Grand tour, it goes all over the place. And I was tagging along behind him. And these actors would be putting on their stuff. It was a point where we were in the balcony, and we have a character playing one of the spirits who resides in the balcony of the Grand. And she was going through her presentation, and this guy was just totally lagging off and watching somewhere else. And as I looked up his way, he looked at me and he went, and he pointed to some random place all the way. And I just mentally said, okay, got to ask him about that when it's all over. And so there were a few of those instances as we went through. And at the end of this, we went downstairs to the dressing rooms, and he met with the performers, and they were like, because if there's one thing a performer notices in an intimate situation, it's when someone's not paying attention to their performance. Trust me. So they knew where these spots were, and they wanted to know what was going on. So one of the actors asked, what was going on when and I said, you pointed off to the opposite corner of the theater, and what did that mean? And he said, didn't you see him? And I said, no. And he had described what he saw without any real prompting from me. He described pretty well one of the alleged spirits of the Grand, who was not featured that night. So I thought that was kind of interesting and fun. And then we were going through some other things and talking about some other things that he had seen, and we got to the spot where he had been down in the dressing rooms, and one of the actors who did a very big theatrical, lively presentation in one of the dressing rooms, and she said, I was acting my tail off, and you were looking everywhere but. What was that all about? And he said, well, when you were doing your act, in the mirrors of the dressing room, there are 10 mirrors along the walls of this large dressing room. In the mirrors, they were all there. There were faces pressed up against all of the mirrors, and they were really enjoying your show. They really enjoyed this, what you all are doing here, your little skit. So we're like, okay, because it was a fascinating time, and in fact, when he told me the tale of the coal room, he invoked a spirit of the Grand that then became part of the story going forward. It was an interesting night. There are people who have great stories to tell about the Grand, and in the absence of refuting them, I'll believe them. But the answer is nope. I haven't seen a spirit, and unless something happened behind me right now, maybe you haven't either. I love hearing the stories, however, of people who have seen ghosts in the Grand, and so never hesitate to share your story. I love hearing tunnel stories, and I love hearing ghost stories all the time. So I think that's a real important part of our history along the way. I was looking for one more ghost-related question. I'm scrolling over here to find it. Stand by, stay with me. Here it is. So Karen asks about the ghost light, which is right here next to me. The ghost light is a single lamped light that sits in the middle of the stage when the theater is otherwise dark. A night light, if you would. So what is the ghost light exactly? Again, there are many tales of what the ghost light is. Chances are, a ghost light exists because we don't want to pay. It keeps me from walking off the stage in the dark. It's probably an insurance thing, but and in the old days, the pit was right there, open all the time. The pit's covered now, probably virtually all of the time at the Grand. But the pit was open, and you wanted to see the lip, you wanted to see the stairs. In the Grand, the stairs move. Sometimes they're in the middle, sometimes they're on the sides, and so it's a nightlight to keep people from getting hurt. But there, also people say, and I'll go for this, that it's there an acknowledgement of the spirits of a building, that you burn a ghost light at night to let the spirits know that you're aware, and you want to keep some illumination in the building, and it exists to keep the spirits happy, as well as the very practical, keeping you from falling down and hurting yourself. So I am. I have to tell you though, as I go through this now, I'm starting to run out of questions here. So feel free to post your way through things, and I will go for. I'll go from there. I'm going to turn the lights back up so that anyone who hasn't seen the theater before can enjoy it, and anybody who wants to know if everything's all right in the theater, you see we're not covered in cobwebs. We're ready to roll when the time is right. This is a great question because it has to do a little bit with something I told you earlier about the staff still being hard at work, even though there's no shows going on stage at the moment. And the question is, if a show is postponed, will I have the same seats that I reserved? And moving forward, that is the plan. If you have a ticket to show X that was in April and now it's in August or September or October or whatever, you'll keep that same seat, that same reserved seat for the show. We have shows that are canceled, and fortunately not too many at this point. Most of them are being rescheduled. So that's a whole different ballgame. But your ticket that you have, hang on to it, because it's a valuable ticket. And at some point when a show is rescheduled, you'll be contacted by the box office, by someone who will let you know whether you need whether that ticket is what you bring that night with the old date on it, whether the ticket has to come back for a new ticket. All of the instructions of what to do will come your way. But again, it's all about being patient, and we appreciate your patience so much, because we've got to they've got to figure out what's going on with all of this. They're all working from home, and as we get through this, we have to decide what the best way to contact people are, and where things are going along the way. So if it takes a little longer to get an answer or to cash your check, we ask you to be patient. Don't hesitate to contact us. We're all answering emails. We're listening to the voicemails. For me, email is the best. But I will find my way to your answers as much as I can. Let me see what else we got here. This is great. I appreciate all of you weighing in. You can just weigh in and say something nice too. I promise I'll flash it up there. We are set. The volunteer question was asked. That was a good question. So this one's not on there in the same way, but it's one that I get asked a lot. And it's what's your favorite show? What's your favorite night at the Grand? And that is virtually impossible for me to answer. Do I like every show? No, of course not. No one can like every show that goes on. If I booked only shows that I liked, it would be a pretty dull season for a lot of people who don't like the same things that I do. So, with that said, there's a certain type of show that's important to me, and that's that. It has to do with the size of this theater. It's a very intimate theater, and we say all the time, as do the performers, it's kind of like being in a living room with the artist. And because of that, it's the artists that I think are the most successful at the Grand are the artists who can reach out to the thanks, Cindy, see ya. Reach out across and play not sorry. No, I'm not cutting it at all. It's going to have a nice look to it when it's all said and done. You're all going to see it. Who knows what I'll look like when it's all done, because it's growing and it's graying going on at the moment. Now I think where I was. Okay, so I in a prior life was a classical pianist. That was my first choice of career back when I was in high school, in another lifetime ago. And one of the reasons I'm not a classical pianist is that I didn't have the discipline to practice, and without that, didn't have the skills to pull it off. But also, I found attending a conservatory that there was a lot of the best musicians immerse themselves in making the music, almost to the exclusion of the people to whom they're making the music to entertain. And it just wasn't, I guess I was more of an entertainer than an artist. So I went into theater and I never looked back. But for the longest time in my career, which 16 years here, there was 11 years in Manitowoc before that as a producer, and there were years of summer stock before that. And but in all those years, I rarely, if ever, booked a concert pianist, because I wanted someone who would relate to the audience and at the same time have the mad skills to pull off a virtuoso concert. And it was a good, decade ago that I became aware of the pianist Alpen Hong. And I didn't know Alpen at that time, of course. I talked to his agent, and we booked his show. And he was at that time a long-haired pianist from California who liked video games and superheroes, and related well to kids, obviously, that way. But boy, did he have mad skills. Does he ever have mad skills? And as time went on, Alpen continued to evolve his performances, and we continued to work together on things. And I think that those performances where the audience and the artist are one are the most special nights for me. Sure, I loved when Jeff Daniels reopened the theater, and we opened the curtain, and the people on stage prior to the show got to see the renovated Grand for the first time. Those are big nights. And I love the Four Phantoms. I love their show. I love that quality. I love that blowing the roof off the theater in a good way. All of those things are important. But I also love a theater full of kids having a good time. And so there's a lot that I like about what I do, and it's a big part of why I do what I do, where I do it. I think that some of the best performances around get lost in large recital halls, and some of the most wonderful performances I've seen happen with smaller crowds, and in this particular theater where people, I guess if there are ghosts that I hear in the Grand, the theater's never quiet to me. But we opened in 1883, 130 some odd years ago, and maybe the voices I hear are, is the laughter and the applause and the reactions of audiences for all those years. Because even during the time that we were showing vaudeville or movies, it was always a community gathering place. There was always something going on that was community based. That was a place of importance for that sort of thing. So I think that when it's all said and done, there's a lot I like, about what we do at the Grand, and almost all of it has to do with having people in it. So, I've been fortunate to lead the staff through one shutdown, and we'll look forward to it again when we're ready to go again. So in the meantime, the Grand at Home obviously is a big part of what's going on. Fridays and Saturday nights, we've been featuring, I'm going over to my cheat sheet. We've been featuring artists, some of them local, some of them national, friends of the Grand, friends of mine who have been putting together performances and allowing us to broadcast them online to our audiences. This weekend, we have a couple of regional performers. On Friday night, we have Mark Croft. Mark has played. Oh, wait a minute! I want to do this. See, I'm also my own engineer here, so I got to find the right stuff. There's Mark Croft. Mark has played some Afterglow performances here at the Grand before, and people are going to really like to hear his music. And then on Saturday night, we have Nikki Jordan joining us. Nikki is going to be familiar to people who are followers of that great band Boogie and the Yo-Yos. Nikki was their female lead singer for many years. Now she's got a solo career going, and she'll be our person happening on Saturday. We got more plans too. There's some plans for some kid content, and so again, as you can see where to subscribe to the Grand at Home. Also, there's a Grand at Home Facebook page, or the Grand at Home page. Also, we'll find your way around. I'm looking to add some more content for kids. We're looking to add some more content with local folks who are performing as well. And as time goes on, we can have even more of this happen. So, with all of that said, we're approaching the end of our time here. I do want to thank you all who have joined in. You can point people to the Grand at Home, because this broadcast, when it ends, becomes part of the archive, and people can still follow the way around. Again, I just want to lead you one more time. It would be remiss of me not to point you towards the two fundraising events that are so important to us, being here for you going forward in the future. The We Are Grand, United We Grand, fundraiser is what's helping us work right now and make things happen. And then in the weeks to come, we'll be announcing our spring annual fund drive. And that's the stuff that's going to help us, when the time comes, be ready to provide to you the entertainment that is so important to us, and the abilities for us to get together as time goes on. So again, I want to thank you for being with us. If you've enjoyed it, let us know. We'll keep doing it. I'll keep giving you updates as time goes on. My name is Joe Ferlo. I am the director of the Grand, and of course, on behalf of all of us here at the Grand, I want to wish you all the best as you are safer at home. I hope that you and your families are healthy. That you take care, stay the heck away, stay 6 feet back, do your thing. Cover your face along the way. Maybe I'll have a legit mask for you next time. And come back and see us often. We're going to keep, as long as you're here, we're going to be here, and until the time when we can be together again. So thanks for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your evening.